It was the Bad Guys. That's what the team name was, which was Razor Ramon, the 1-2-3 Kid, Davey Boy Smith, and the Head Shrinkers beating the. What a name this is! This is a lot of fault, isn't it? The Teamsters. God Almighty, Jesus! Lots of thought went into that then. So the Teamsters, which had Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Owen Hart, Jim Neidhart, and Jeff Jarrett. Again, such a random kind of thing. This match went just under 22 minutes. And yeah, this was the beginning of the end of Shawn Michaels and Diesel, Matt. They would kind of end up sort of arguing with each other, and yeah, there was this. This was the end of their run. Michaels and Diesel kind of like didn't get on, and yeah, it was all kind of done in one night. Like everything had been going good and up until this point, until this moment. Um, do you think they pulled the trigger too fast here with them as a tag team, Matt, or do you think it was right? It was a good decision. Obviously, Diesel's coming off as the face here. Michaels is playing the villain. Was this a smart move, Matt, or do you think there was more sort of longevity with these two, a bit further more?
I mean, I guess they could have played it out longer, but I do kind of respect the fact that they did it when Diesel was actually getting a good reaction.
Mm-hmm.
People were starting to side with him, so they were seeing that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we've seen all too often these days, when a guy comes along, he's got something about him, he's got that appeal, but they just leave it too long and then they become uncool. I think they did it just at the right time with Diesel when he was still in that cool zone.
Sure. It's worth reporting this same night at Survivor Series 94, Bob Backlund won the WWF title from Bret the Hitman Hart in a match that went over 35 minutes, by the way, which is worth pointing out. And Matt, here we go. Here's the big news, and a first for us on WrestleLine, because Diesel, Kevin Nash become the latest attempt, Meltzer reports, to recreate Hulk Hogan by capturing the WWF title from Bob Backlund in just 8 seconds with a jackknife powerbomb on the 26th of the 11th. Now, Matt, this is the night that WCW were going to be in town. Well, this is Madison Square Garden. This is where it happens. The title switch came just 3 days after Survivor Series, where Backlund had won the title from Bret Hart and Diesel had turned babyface on partner Shawn Michaels. The quickie title change, Meltzer reports, was largely given away to anyone who could read between the lines on television on Saturday, reports Meltzer, both nationally and logically, thinking the way the market was going to go on WWF TV, on the USA Network. It was announced there would be a title match between Backlund and Diesel beforehand, replacing the injured Bret Hart at the Garden, and that WWF would open its 900 number line for live commentary of the match starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, WWF looked like they'd planned this maybe a little bit in advance here for all this to go down the way it did. Matt, this is this is crazy kind of talk, but Diesel, I think he only recently lost the record he had. I think CM Punk done it in a quicker time of winning those belts in that amount of time before, but it was some feat, Matt. I mean, given that he'd only just started after WrestleMania, he's Intercontinental Champion, he's Tag Team Champion, but this, Matt, this does seem, even though it does seem strategic, it does seem completely out of nowhere. What did you make of this, and what do you make to the finish that he gets on Backlund here?
Well, I think something during this time had definitely clicked, and they had definitely decided that he was the man. He had the look and he had the actual charisma and the capabilities to do such and carry the brand for a while. But this fashion that they did it in, it was quite dramatic, wasn't it? I can't say I've seen too many sort of title matches like that, but if it definitely got him into the history books, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Very fast finish. Do you think this was the right time to just, like they seemed like they didn't want to do the whole. Okay, so if you think back to our other timeline, you think of Luger. Okay, so they went every step they could to promote that in the right way. They'd done the Lex Express. They had months and months. With this, they look like they're not even giving you the chance. They've just done it straight after. There's no build up for Diesel in main events. He's just, he's not had main event matches. He's just the champion. Do you think that helped Diesel? Like, it got him over with the fans, and there was no room for people to question his ability and sort of like his weaknesses, and just putting him straight there with a belt was kind of like more of a shock factor with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the point we made a minute ago when we were saying about Shawn and Diesel breaking up. I think they did it at the right time, and when you have someone and the fans are on their side, just go for it. Like I was saying, like there's too many people these days when they have that charisma and they have that potential. It's just people see it coming a mile off, and then it isn't cool anymore.
Yeah. There's a lot of buzz here on the whole Diesel winning the belt, the way he done it. Meltzer reports most of the fans were, really happy, but they were really trying to drive home that Diesel is the leader of the new generation, Matt. That was a kind of a slogan that was getting kind of thrown around quite a lot back then. The new generation, it was kind of a thing that was going on. Nash at this point, Matt, is 35 years old, and he's finally done it here. He's become the WWF champion, and it seems like, Matt, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, obviously we've had Brett would have held the belt from WrestleMania. We're obviously Bob Backlund for 3 days or whatever it was. Straight to Kevin Nash, Diesel. At this point, Matt, it's a very babyface kind of run at the top, but fans do seem accepting. But he's a completely different animal to Bret Hart right now, isn't it, Matt, with Diesel on top?
Yeah, a dramatic shift there for sure. To go from one extreme to the other. One like Bret Hart, who will carry a match and put on the show, and then Diesel, who has the look, and has that old classic big man kind of look, but he does require a younger sort of Diesel's young, but I mean like someone who's faster and more capable technically in the ring to sort of pull off a decent match.
Sure. Raw, a little bit after that, King's Court again, with Shawn Michaels and Backlund, who both end up with challenges to Diesel. Diesel's title defense against King Kong Bundy ended in 2 minutes after Diesel won that. It's reported as well that Backlund, who had 10 years on Diesel, who was 45, who held the title twice between 1978 and 1983. Crikey, that's a long run, isn't it, Matt? God dear. Got the honours of being a 3-day transitional champion recently, and until Shawn Michaels recovers from his hand injury, can return to the ring and wrestle. So that's what he's going to be lined up for. Mid-December now, Matt. Meltzer sees the landscape. So Meltzer's kind of he's giving his sort of overview of how 95 is going to come and the landscape of 95 for WWF. He's reporting that with a major influx of new young talent and going to an unproven Diesel as champion makes fans feel the company is freshening up on a new kind of generation that are trying to get home, with the likes of Randy Savage jumping ship to WCW. They certainly, he sees this as being a kind of a transitional period with a lot of new guys coming through at this point. December 19th now, 1994, Diesel's first test as champion was this past weekend with 3 house shows in upstate New York. According to our reports, in all cities, they had Diesel beat Bob Backlund in, 30 seconds, Matt. Then jackknife both Owen Hart and Jim Neidhart when they did post-match run-ins and left all 3 laying. Diesel got huge pops when he came out and when he left, people laying, but crowds in at least 2 or 3 cities were less than half of what the WWF B shows were used to do in these cities. So, yeah, like I said earlier, there's an A house show and there's a B house show. And at this time, Diesel has, of course, the WWF Championship. So he's on the A show, but, of course, crowds not doing quite as well as they were doing when Brett was on the A show. So it's interesting to see that dynamic. December 26th, Matt, 1994, and it's Raw in what apparently was a redo, reports Meltzer, then did basically the same segment, but this time Diesel sat in Lawler's chair. By the way, Diesel has dropped the accent. I don't remember him doing much of an accent, I've got to be honest with you, Matt, but maybe I didn't see too many of his interviews, but now they're saying he's been a normal human being on interviews. But I don't really recall that too much. Do you remember the whole accent with Diesel when he first came in?
No, I gotta say, no, I don't remember that. But then again, he didn't really talk that much before.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that finished at once. So yeah, that finishes us off, Matt, for the end of 1994 here. So I'm going to close the line at this point. I feel like we've kind of covered as much as we need to on this one, and of course we'll be coming back with part 2 and the closure of Diesel himself and how that goes on. But finishing this one up at the end of the year, at this point, Matt, it is all good for Diesel. You'd have to say this is one of probably the best career lines we've covered and probably will cover in some time, considering Diesel's run here. But again, the one thing I think I take from this and looking at this timeline is just it's almost, if you was going to put it on a graph, that line just absolutely goes straight to the top within one day, doesn't it, Matt?
Yeah, and it is an interesting story to talk about because I suppose it's the first one that we've talked about where he's reached the highest peak of the mountain.
Absolutely, yeah, and it has come strictly out of nowhere. There's been no real build to it. So yeah, join us for the next part. Don't forget, folks, if you want to get in touch and any comments or you've got any suggestions for future timelines, feel free to drop us an email at wrestleline@gmail.com. Always happy to take your emails there. Matt, thank you as always for coming on board on this first part of the timeline for Diesel.
No problem at all, and I'm looking forward to part 2.
Yeah, and we'll be back with you on part 2, folks. Until then, stay lucky.